Hello, Old School RuneScape, and welcome to this week's Q&A. That's weird, I can hear myself loudly. Oh, I'm gone now. Sorry about that. Anyway, welcome to this week's Q&A. I'm your host, Mod Sween. So we are fresh from RuneFest. We're full of life and flu and positivity from engaging with you fine folk all weekend.
Yay!
It's quite a special Q&A because we're going to focus on what we revealed, leagues information, what we didn't reveal, lots of questions about what we didn't reveal, and we have some new faces. But before I introduce you to them and ask some questions, if you have any questions yourself, at Old School RS, and it's Mod Gambit manning the keyboard today. Thank you, Mod Gambit. So let's introduce you to the people on the sofa. I'll start with Mod Oasis. Hello.
Hello.
Next to Mod Oasis, you have Mod Fed, and next to Mod Kieran, you have Mod Bonsai. So
Hello.
we'll do this in a nice orderly manner. We'll ask questions one at a time. So Mod Fed, we'll begin with you. Quite an open question. What do you do?
What do I do? I've recently joined as QA manager for Old School. So I'm looking after the whole of the QA team and all of our QA effort on Old School. And that involves quite a lot of things, but mostly just getting all of our stuff in order, making sure that the testers actually testing the game are well supported, that they have the necessary resources and skills to actually do the testing, which means I have to think about okay, who needs particular bits of training, who needs help, when do we need to think about moving people between different teams and different projects and stuff they're working on. So there's a lot of that going on.
So lots of different spinning plates you've got.
Yeah, kind of, and thinking about how we fit into the rest of Jagex and how we borrow knowledge from other teams, how we get support of them when necessary, how we support them, when they ask, when they call.
Okay, so I've got some stock questions. I don't know how relevant it is, but do you have any immediate priorities you're working towards that you can share with the players?
Yeah, one of the things that we're focusing a lot on is leagues. One of the big upcoming releases. We're really keen to test that thoroughly. We want to try and make sure that everything works. It's a new mode. It's a new way of playing the game. So we want to make sure that you're able to do everything that we expect players to do. We don't want them being faced with barriers or nasty surprises, being unable to progress and race ahead or go at their own pace.
Okay, quite a nice little sign-off question. Well, depending on your answer, actually. How are you finding your time at Jagex so far?
Really loving it. I didn't really expect that I'd be working at Jagex or it'd be the place that it is, which is fun, vibrant, exciting. I remember playing RuneScape like 10 years ago at uni, longer ago than that. But whatever my expectations are of Jagex as a company, it's completely different. It's much more exciting, much more fun, much more modern.
I think 10 years ago, some people on the team might have been at primary school, let alone uni. Maybe.
I was at school. Well, when I was in school in 2007 when this game's based on, and now I work on it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mod Bonsai, over to you next. What do you do?
I'm the new EP on Old School, so yeah, very excited to be here and working with the Old School team.
Shall we explain what EP stands?
Yeah, okay, sorry, yeah. So it's new role, right?
So that's earning potential, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm here to, well, always, but yeah, I'm here to kind of lead the team and champion Old School within the business and externally. And I've been working very closely with the team to kind of define our current release plans and future long-term sort of strategy and plans around the game. I've been kind of really trying to embed myself and understand the kind of heritage and the DNA of the game, and people like Kieran and JC and Ash have been amazingly supportive in helping me step forward over the last couple of months while I've been here, kind of finding my feet. So yeah, generally speaking, I'm trying to get embedded with the team and the game and understand, as I said, the heritage and the DNA and what the core pillars are around the game. But also we're starting to look ahead and look at some of the current challenges we have and the longer term sort of strategy and vision for the game. So we can deliver, these amazing experiences to you guys as we move forward.
Excellent. So you were at RuneFest over the weekend.
Yeah.
How was your first RuneFest experience?
It was amazing. It was great to actually kind of put a face to the game in terms of, like engaging with the players. I was actually spent about half a day on Saturday working on one of the booths, so I had lots of very interesting feedback. We were actually on the ideas stage, so we had a huge amount of response around that. So it was great to see, but yeah, really it was just to get a feel for the players, and it was amazing to see the sort of the passion and enthusiasm that we have for the game and what a great community we have. So I'm very much looking forward to kind of engaging with the wider community on a kind of individual and a wider basis, and obviously working with the team to step forward into the future.
I've got some more questions, but I'm seeing chat saying, Mod MTX, there are no plans to add MTX to Old School RuneScape. He's just a very experienced executive producer here to help Old School RuneScape grow.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience in the gaming
sure.
industry?
I've been in games, starting games back in 1996, so what's that? It's a long time, it's 23 years.
I was 3 years old.
Grey.
I was 3.
So yes, no, thanks for that. But yeah, so I started off working in a sort of PC console gaming back in '96 at a company up in the northwest of England called Warthog. I had a great opportunity to sort of step into the industry through some friends who were part of the founders for that startup. I worked as a game designer on some of like campaign missions, and then gradually moved into a more production orientated role there. So it was a really good sort of test bed for me. It was quite challenging, but a great experience, great fun. And did several years with that company before moving into kind of mobile gaming, and I've been in mobile gaming for about 10, 12 years. I've worked as sort of VP designer, and more recently over the last sort of 12 years as head of studio, actually running multiple development teams and helping build studio businesses and the kind of infrastructure around what looks successful for a game development team and studio. So what I'm looking to do is, bring that experience with me and work closely with the team and the wider leadership here at Jagex to sort of build on the historical success of the game and step forward into the future in a really positive way with a really clear vision.
I think it's really exciting. We've got the whole old school team is quite young, really. A lot of us have come from the community, pretty much all of us, and for many of us, it's our first sort of job in the industry. And to have someone like Mod Bonsai join us, who's been doing it 23 years, can start to run this team much better than anyone has in the past. We can become more efficient and better deliver content for you guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just some of the titles you've worked on, like I think I saw the list, like Final Fantasy and stuff. Which is
I've
super
worked
exciting.
on kind of a lot of kind of cherished IPs. I had the opportunity sort of to work with things like, sort of directly with people like Kojima Studios on Metal Gear Solid mobile game, The Sims, Final Fantasy, Need for Speed, many titles.
Call of Duty.
So, Call of Duty as well, yeah. So, there's so many. I've kind of getting rusty, but it's all part of developing, part of building up that experience and working with sort of cherished IPs, and obviously RuneScape is a cherished IP for our community. So I'm hoping to bring a lot of that sensitivity around what it means to the players through. And as I said, part of that is being very connected to the team internally and working with the leadership in the business to do the right thing.
Cool. So same question I asked ModFed. Do you have any immediate priorities? What are your first things you'll be working on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most urgently we need to sort of address sort of some clarity around third-party client situations. So we're actually working towards that right now, working with the team here. Maybe Kieran, do you want to speak a little more on that?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that we've been looking to do right now is, firstly, we put out the statement before RuneFest, and I think one of the problems is there's a lot of ambiguity around where that line was drawn about what's unacceptable. It's easy to interpret in different ways. So what we're looking to do right now is establish a better list of unacceptable features so that you, the players, and indeed the developers of these clients, know what isn't okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one side of the third-party client issue as well. The other one is obviously, what do we do with our own client? And we've explored some really, really cool, exciting options there. Nothing we can share at the moment. But I was going to say this after he left the couch. I don't want to embarrass him, but I think I said it before, which is I've never seen the same level of kind of determination and urgency to solve the third-party client situation. I've never seen kind of anyone in the leadership team acknowledge that it's an issue, let alone say we need to fix the issue. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. And at this point, that's all the way to the top of the company, right? It's a priority all the way up to the CEO to get this sorted.
Absolutely.
All right, Mod Oasis, you've been sat there nice and quietly, so it's your turn.
Hello.
What do you do?
So I'm the new junior content dev for Old School. Previously, I went to university to do games. My last 2 companies were both VR companies, doing just kind of standard software stuff. So when the opportunity to join Jagex came up, I was like, perfect. I love games. I've been playing Old School for a good few years. I used to play it as a kid, really badly, like probably everyone did when they were 10 years old. And now, when it kicked back up again, I was like, all right, time to jump back in. So now I play Old School. I'd like to say properly, but obviously still bad at what I do, probably, according to the community. So
Mod Kieran's training you, is that correct?
Yep.
Is he treating you nicely?
Yeah, nice enough. It's been going all right. I joined Monday last week, the week of RuneFest, so it's been a bit hectic, I think. But yeah, just learning the ins and outs of the engine and everything like that. So it's been really enjoyable. It's really interesting to see the behind the scenes of Old School. I haven't played it for so many years. So yeah, it's fascinating.
But any
and I'm
surprises
really
behind the scenes? Like, did you imagine it to be one way and then you're like, oh, actually,
yeah,
is there more sympathy for us or more?
definitely more sympathy. I was always thinking, Old School can't be that hard. And I'm like, actually, yeah, there's a lot more goes on behind the scenes than you'd first think. But learning that is really interesting.
What's the first project you're going to be working on?
I'm not too sure. I have a couple of things in the back of my head of things I'd like to do. For me, I think one of the best things about playing the game is kind of the mini game aspect and all those smaller chunks of content that are quite isolated. So I've been doing a lot of barrow runs recently. So kind of content similar to that, not going to say, yes, let's add this game in, but just kind of along the same veins. It's something that definitely interested me in content to add in.
So that was going to be the next question was, what would you add if you could? So
2 in one go.
Something like barrows, but you're not sure what.
Yeah, just those kind of challenging mini games that kind of add a bit more spice to the game rather than just going straight for the top tier stuff. It's a bit more life.
So there's 3 new faces for you. The Old School team is growing. We spoke about it last week and spoke about it the week before. We are genuinely sad to be losing friends who have left the team, but we are growing. We're looking to replace and bring in new talent and new skills. So ! new mod and Mod Gambit spamming the chat as well for Jagex Oasis. Give them a follow. So as the team continues to grow, we'll continue to bring on Q&As, and I hope this team will see these 3 on the couch again soon. So what we're going to do is say goodbye to these guys, and we're going to welcome Bruno, Ed, Husky, and Kieran's already here. Never mind that one.
Hello.
And whilst we make a really smooth switch, we're going to share an insight into Mod Ash's nightmares. Mod John, if you please.
Oh, yeah? How do you spell Fremnik? Oh, single M, double N.
Thanks.
How about Dagonoth? Oh, Wolf. Whoa.
Ooh, spooky. Welcome back, and I am joined by new faces. So say hello to Mod Bruno,
Hey.
Mod Husky,
Yeah.
and Mod Ed.
It is Spooktober after all.
It is Spooktober after all.
Spooky.
I need to change my Twitter handle back to Mod Halloween. I do that every year.
I miss the old too spooky for me meme. I haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah.
So before we crack on with all the RuneFest related questions, I just want to run through a couple more things. We spoke a little bit about third-party clients and the fact that you can expect some comments from us, some more news about what we're going to do with existing clients. The fact that we're considering some pretty exciting options for our own client as well. Account security, that's another one. So what we're keen on making sure, so there haven't been many tweets, there haven't been many Reddit threads about account security or third-party clients over the last week because RuneFest is really exciting and everyone's feeling good. But we don't want to let it rest, so we are still working on it. The last update you had from us on account security was that the tech services and support teams they had identified the work they were going to do and what features they'd be adding, but they were scoping when they can deliver it. So they've now done that, and what they're in the process of doing now is getting the pod together. So pretty much phrasing and framing what features you can expect to see and when. So that's happening now. So hopefully we'll have that update to share very, very soon. And I just want to reiterate again, like with account security and third-party clients, I haven't seen us ever totally accept that they are issues, whilst the player base have already known it for a long time. We've got a lot of confidence in the leadership team now, in what's going on, priorities from the CEO down. So I'm hoping, what I've been saying is that this time next year, they won't be issues. We can just focus on content again. Nice smiley faces all round. What else before the RuneFest stuff? So PvP. This kind of comes into, there wasn't any announcement for PvP stuff at RuneFest, and we know that. So what are we doing for PvP? The Bounty Hunter rework beta coming in a matter of weeks. I think we're aiming for next Thursday, but it's obviously going to depend on the testing.
Yeah.
We've got the esports plans from Mod Rogue, and we're quite keen for her to get a chance to talk to you about it as soon as possible. We mentioned the polling charter, which will clearly communicate what we do and what we don't poll, though no decision has actually been made on what we do and don't poll just yet, but we are working on that. We also mentioned the possibility of a council type system. So that's still being discussed and planned. What we're doing at the moment is knowledge sharing with our friends in the games industry to see what we can learn and implement. This morning I had a call with CCP, the developers of EVE Online, to kind of discuss their council system, really enlightening about what we can emulate, what we should avoid, their learning experiences. So they've had a council system for years now, so they're well placed to share some advice for us, really. So we'll keep you updated on that. Personally, I'm really keen to see what kind of core mechanics we can bring back to PvP with the clan system. So I'd like to prioritize like re-incentivizing genuine PvPer versus PvP activities rather than the standard, here's the guy on a platter for you to go and kill type stuff. So we didn't announce any PvP stuff at RuneFest. I'd say I'm sorry about that, but PvP is in our minds and we're seeing what we can do with lots of different approaches, whether it's looking at how it's polled, how we get ideas through councils and stuff, learning from other developers who do specialize in PvP activities, plus Bounty Hunter and Last Man Standing, etc.
It's not in a place where there's something big to go on stage and announce because we need to solve those problems first.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think clans is very much at the base of allowing us to serve a lot more, at least group-based PvP content going forward from that. That system really does, and the tech behind it lets us do other things that with groups of players. So in its sense, clans almost is towards obviously it affects more than just the PvP community, but
it's a big opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity for PvPers to build up their communities and get more people into their clans as well.
Cool. So on to what we did announce at RuneFest. Incredible weekend. Mod Ed, you missed out. We missed you on stage.
I think you did fine without me.
Oh, thank you.
While I'm here, everyone was pretty happy with it, so didn't even need me.
It was a very smooth reveals section, I've got to say.
It felt really good.
It did feel good. So the player base have given us tons of feedback on everything we've announced, and obviously the stuff we haven't announced as well.
Shall we go for what? Are we going to go for what we announced?
Well, yeah, we will do.
Okay,
We'll do.
fine. Sorry.
But in terms of the actual event as well, the chat looks like maybe Mod Egg isn't mic'd up properly.
I promise.
But we'll see about that. Anyway, if you're at home watching the event, we're going to be asking you for lots of feedback on the kind of, I guess, the streaming experience. We want to make sure we can do more of what you like, avoid what you didn't like, And if you were at the event, then we're going to want to know your thoughts on all things RuneFest. So those surveys will be coming to you shortly from the events team. And whilst we're sorting out this mic issue, and before we jump into the RuneFest Reveals questions, I want to take a quick second to congratulate the following people for winning Golden Gnomes Awards. So, Seventh Sleeper for winning the Best New Old School Artist. Zuhar Gromiart and Seventh Sleeper again for the Thank You for Your Service Mod Matt K Best Artistic Creation. Dagna for the Best Artist. Roydy for Best New Old School Streamer. Spark Mac for Best Old School Streamer. Jimmy for Best New Old School Video Maker. Settled for Best Old School Video Maker. Lil Smokey and Swampletics Exposed for the Best Old School Video of the Year, and Presleek for winning Community Champion of the Year. Just a reminder, because I'm already seeing people like spam in the chat, like X should have won, blah blah blah. This was entirely community voted, from the initial nominees to the winner. If the amount of people saying so and so should have won voted for so and so, then maybe so and so would have won. So blame yourselves.
Shots called.
But congratulations to everybody who won. I don't want to detract from that.
That applause when Settled won the...
Oh, it was great.
I've not seen anything quite like that. The standing ovation in the room was insane.
He deserved it, though.
Absolutely deserved it, yeah. But it was quite surreal sort of seeing that.
That was Mod Gambit presenting that in his suit and shorts combo. Good theme.
I love the Gambit sly look he gave just before he revealed it. Like, I know, but you don't.
Come on, everyone.
Right, so at RuneFest we revealed a Mauritania expansion with the City of Darkmire, the new Nightmare boss, the Sins of a Father quest, rewards such as Dark Graceful, and the Hallowed Sepulchre activity. We announced the clan system, long overdue, and we announced Group Iron Man, long demanded.
Wow.
Plus other things as well we'd hope to do, such as the current quest, which I can't remember the name of.
Kingdom Divided.
Kingdom Divided. The potential for PVM achievement diaries, lots of different interface changes that Ash is quite keen to work on. So all of that, so very exciting stuff. I'll jump straight into the questions. They've been kind of groups according to the reveal itself. Let's start with the Mauritania expansion. First question is, what's the timeline for the content? And I assume they mean release rather than in-game years and
I
ages.
presume they're on about release.
Yeah.
I don't know a frame. It's all next year. I wouldn't expect to see anything, I think, from any of those announcements before the end of 2019. We'll be talking about them a lot earlier. In fact, with the Darkmire stuff, with the Nightmare of Ashihama, we'll be talking to you much sooner. So I think probably
Already have.
Yeah,
we've already
started.
We put an initial blog out. We've asked for your rewards. We're starting that right now, really. So that's going into development, really, in the next couple of weeks, right? You've already started heavier design work.
Yeah, we've been properly working on the design, so there's something to poll in the next few weeks. It is worth noting, just in case people aren't aware, that while we are sort of talking about Mauritania as like one big update, it's actually two separate updates. It's the quest and the city is one part of the update, and the boss is another part of the update. So we'll be released in separate parts because they're two separate updates.
We'll be releasing and the boss will be coming first.
Yep.
So the boss, I saw some people asking about sleep. The boss is going to be in sleep. So that's giving that area a lot of purpose and more in-depth lore and story behind it now as well. So I'm excited for that. And again, as I mentioned at RuneFest, we want your reward ideas, and have the community already delivered. We've compiled a list, Mod Acon compiled a list, and oh my god, it's a lengthy list of your submissions.
I remember Ed said something like, I was going to spend 5 minutes going through it, and then he went, oh,
that's the same as I was like, I'm going to have a quick look at what was submitted. I was like, oh, this is going to take me 2 hours.
How quick are we to complain that the community don't give us ideas sometimes?
Exactly.
So we need to just accept it and say thank you very much for the essay. Right, so we said next year. I understand why we're saying that.
Towards the start of next year is where we're aiming for. All of the Mauritania content, we're aiming for the first half of next year. So.
I mean, like, Leagues is the next big thing, right? So that's what we're working on now. So once we're through, we'll probably get on to the next.
And on the topic of Leagues, we announced the release date of RuneFest as well for Leagues.
Yeah.
The Twisted League will be out on the 14th. 14th as well?
14th of November.
14th of November.
Exciting.
So that's literally just over a month away, and it's in development right now. You've been working on it, Mod Husky, and it's already really coming together quite well.
Yeah. Also, Mod Lenny Flippy and Tide. We've had support from a lot of people. It's not just me working on it, so.
Excuse me.
Well, this sprint team will be.
A lot of people have contributed to leagues, and it's moved quite fast. I think I personally have some regrets about how quiet we kept it until we first announced it, and a lot of people have had the response, that's a lot sooner than I expected. And I think it's just because we kept it quite quiet for a while. So we were first talking about it. I mean, it goes a little further back when initially we were just talking about potentially doing like, a temporary old school server. Just so, which with no changes at all, just a separate world that ran for a month as a fresh start, just for fun. And it sort of developed from there. We're like, why don't we just put a spin on it? Like, why don't we make it be way more interesting? And it slowly developed, and everyone else has had different ideas. Even up to our CEO has contributed to some ideas to how this is going to look. And eventually, it's turned into what we're offering now. And I'm really, really excited for Twisted League, to be honest.
Me too. But we've got some Twisted League questions for a little bit later on, so let's get back to Mauritania. So, lots of questions in a similar vein to this. Why was Mauritania chosen rather than X or content I want?
It wasn't that we chose Mauritania over something else. I mean, you say X, but I think we all know what the big one was. It was the desert.
Yeah.
Why did we choose Mauritania over desert? We didn't. We want to do both. Spoiler alert, we are working on designs for both. It's just the Mauritania stuff was further ahead. It was the right size for the time frame we want to release it next year. Like, I first started designing a lot of the parts of this Mauritania stuff when I was also designing A Taste of Hope. I wrote the two quests pretty much back to back, so it's a lot further ahead. But a couple of months ago, I started work on two separate designs for two chunky updates to go in the desert. They're just not in a position yet where we can properly announce them, because
You did two designs for one thing in the desert, two separate.
oh yeah, so technically three designs. Yeah, there was one thing where I did a design, decided I wasn't happy with it, and after pitching it to everyone, I decided to scrap it and do another one. But yeah, there's some stuff in the work for desert. It's just not far enough on yet to actually announce it, because there's been times in the past few years where we've gone on stage at RuneFest, we've announced something, and we haven't delivered it, and we don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that we can actually, commit to what we're announcing. So it's in the works. I hope to see it within the next couple of years. It's just not quite there yet.
The plans for the desert are ambitious, right? But you all know there's a lot of empty space there. There's a lot to do. And with all the other things, like clans and Group Iron Man are quite big releases, challenging ones they put together. So we don't feel confident that we could do all the desert stuff next year and deliver it well without cutting too many corners.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Mauritania stuff is more suited to what we have time to deliver well, basically.
I've seen the question phrases like, why are you neglecting the desert? But it's not as though we've deleted it or ruined or made it worse. We just haven't started working on it yet. Same as like lots of people want different quests continued. We could probably work on like two at a time, maybe.
I'm not saying nothing will happen in the desert next year either. We could still be doing smaller releases there.
Yeah, and on that topic of the quest continuation as well, because I saw a few people commenting like, oh look, they're doing another Mikey quest, they've just done one, what about this series? Like, we've done a lot of quest continuations over the past few years, like just done Throwing Exiles, Throwing continuation, and we only announced 2 quests at RuneFest this year, just like we only announced, I think, 3 last year, and yet we've delivered 5 this year, so I'd be very surprised if we only end up delivering 2 quests this year. It's just, again, those are the ones we're relatively confident we can deliver. There's more designs in the work, not connected to that desert stuff I was just talking about. I've also got another pitch for a continuation of a much-loved storyline. It's another conclusion, so there should hopefully be some of us.
That's Ed just teasing the community like that.
Show this big long list of pitches.
I think we have a harder time stopping Ed just designing quests in his own time. That's the problem. Ed turns around and goes, by the way, I've got this quest design and it's half done. Or like just randomly like that, and it's...
Throwing Exiles was my
I know what you can do.
quest. I probably should calm down at some point.
We got Mod Oasis now. We can do an Oasis update in the desert.
Yeah.
We can do a community build event where they've all got to dig buckets of water and make a little Oasis.
Sandcastles.
Sandcastles, absolutely.
Have you got an idea for Sheep Shooter 2, like that continuation?
From the moment I started working on quests, from that first announcement of Dragon Slayer 2 a couple of years ago, all they've ever talked about is Sheep Shearer 2, and I think at some point we're just going to have to do it. Shoot Shooter 2 will somehow involve a dog in Varrock as well, and it's going to be the best quest we've ever released. All these big epic stories, continuations, going to be nothing compared to
I'm seeing
Shoot Shooter 2 with the dog.
It's coming together in my head right now. You got to tame that dog. You're going to give him a home. You're going to make him feel lovely, and he's going to be your sheep herding dog. You're going to the dog's going to herd the sheep together so you can shear them all.
I thought you were going to shear the dog.
No,
That's not nice.
The dog calls sheep. The dog's called sheep.
the dog will herd the sheep for you. He's your friend.
Mauritania, that's where we were. Yeah, so lots of people were talking about we're doing it for Settled, the Swamp Athletic series. I think there was some actual discussion internally not to do it because players would think we're just doing it for Settled.
Yeah, we did talk about that, but like I just mentioned, I was actually working on the quest and the city design back when I was writing A Taste of Hope, which is long before Settled even came on the scene. And
When it was a nobody.
yeah, we were there for Settled, so yeah, no, it wasn't because of it. In fact, can't even do it, can he? Because of the Vampire
Slayer, yeah. So people have been speculating whether or not he's going to make an exception.
Take that, Settled.
Right, so we've got some mechanic-based questions as well. Is the agility minigame going to be equivalent to Pyramid Plunder for thieving in terms of XP rates?
So 200k experience an hour? I don't think so.
I think it should be higher, to be honest.
In terms of, I guess, more you could argue the question more in the placement of the skill. Like Pyramid Plunder is basically up there as best in slot for 91 plus, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I think our general opinion is it shouldn't be the best because it's likely to give you more profit from the different loot you're going to get and the hallowed marks and all of that. We don't know exactly what we're going to be doing yet with all the details, but
Yeah, we're still in the process of like deciding all of that sort of thing.
I mean,
it will likely be competitive and it'll be a valid training method to go and get 99 with, but also it should be more fun and engaging. So there's
The
going to be
nice
other
thing
sides
about
to
it is that it's similar to a Pyramid Plunder. It's got the different like tiers, like you can get access to more floors, so it should scale quite well with the XP, hopefully, because of that.
And at the same time, as much as I said, everyone's sick of doing laps and laps, and it is the core of the agility skill, and we don't want to completely stop people from ever doing normal laps by making this the best in slot for everything. Yeah. So it'll have its niche, and we'll aim for it to get a good spot.
one of the pitches I did have for it was the idea that you move to the next floor with the time you have left. But that's a choice, that's a gamble. If you don't have the time, you get to the end, it's a 0 XP for that time done, right? Which does have a lot of skill and like risk versus reward things that people can do. So it comes down to, we'll have to try and balance that. And maybe if someone is 92 agility and really good at the game, maybe they can edge ahead of Ardy and that would be fine. It's just trying to find that balance. And obviously, experience rates, when it comes to that, we'll pitch that to the community, right? It's the community that decide that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so before I carry on with these questions, a reminder to chat. If you have any questions, preferably about clans, Group Ironman, the Mauritania expansion, or leagues, then at OldSchoolRS and Mod Gambit is documenting them for us. So next question, can the proposed Blood Shard be added to the Fury instead of a Torture Amulet?
Yes.
Yeah.
It could. So we don't know, we haven't finalised what the rewards are yet. So if that's the kind of thing you want, then we can consider that too. That's quite a very simple answer. So yeah, it can do. I don't know if it will do, but it can be. The Nightmare was revealed as a group boss similar to Corp, but is it intended to be as difficult as Corp, or is it more difficult, comparable to, say, a Raids boss?
By similar to Corp, what I meant is that it's sort of in the way you fight it, that you kill it, it dies, it respawns, you kill it, it dies, it respawns. Right, it's not a boss where you're going to go into a raid dungeon and go, it's going to be a 45-minute experience. That's what I meant by the comparison. The difficulty, we want it to be like fairly accessible if you go in a decent, reasonable group size. Like, so it's not going to be super end game, really tough boss. But if you want to go in a really small group, like if you're going to try and pull it off in, we don't really know exact yet, but because we haven't fully fleshed out the whole boss. But if you're going in a small group size, like a handful of players, you're probably going to find it to be a lot more challenging. That's what I would like to aim for it to be.
It's really hard for us to say what the difficulty is going to be because we're at the point we're coming up with these ideas for mechanics and stuff like that, right? So we'll never know until we go in and test it. And even then, you change the numbers and it can completely change the scope of it. So
I think it'll definitely be a lot more mechanically advanced than Corp, because Corp really is just stand here, stab it with a spear, and then whenever like the black thing comes at you, just move.
Yeah, it depends what your definition of difficulty is, but at the very least it should be more interesting. Is that a good word
Yes,
to go for?
definitely, yeah.
It will have interesting mechanics. It will be an interesting, fun boss fight with strategies to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will the nightmare be instanced? So the person says, in my mind, the thing that made old school a great MMO is competition and fight for resources, leading to a good balance for supply and demand.
I think the real question, Robin, is it instant? Is how many per world? So, but even if it is instant, it'll only be one per world. That's our plan.
Cool. So we don't know yet, but maybe.
It'll not be infinite instances, right? That's basically the rule.
So this is quite a few questions here, but he wants to give a bit of a preamble. His main points he's offered is less T-boat, less blowpipe, more magic, harder to get to, longer trips. So the actual questions are, can we please move away from the T-boat blowpipe meta in high level PVM? An easy solution would be requiring an offhand item to block the T-boat and blowpipe. I'd love to see magic as the meta for the nightmare. There's lots of potential with elemental spells, god spells, different ancient types, etc. Can we also make it harder to get there, so you have to gear around surviving as long as you can? If you look at a lot of the high level PVM, Corp, Zulrah, Vork, Sire, Hydra, Chambers of Xeric, etc., trips are geared around max DPS with a little bit of food and banking every few kills. It'd be great to see a change where there's more emphasis on survivability. Whether that means it takes longer to get to the boss due to having to get something like a kill count or something like an item sacrifice, I don't know. But the aim would basically be to make a time/cost investment to reach the boss that drives you towards trying to survive as long as possible. Do you want the TLDR again?
Is there a bank in sleep?
We'll answer that last one first. It's not going to be quite God Wars where you have to like get a kill count or something, but at the same time, as Kieran said, there's no bank in sleep, and it's within the dungeon. It's not just in the middle of a town, so you've got to go into the dungeon as well. So it's not going to be like the quickest boss to get to, but it's definitely not going to be the slowest either. It'll be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I think that's also quite a hard request because it gets to the point where players are so skilled and good at the game where they pick up on every single mechanic, they know how to dodge them, and the only real way you get damaged is if you make mistakes or if you just tank unneeded like damage you can't avoid, and no one really likes that. As you can see from the Gauntlet when we released, and even if you had the right Praetor up on the Gauntlet, he was getting hit 20s and no one liked that. So although we'll try, that is quite a hard request to make.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference between players being a lot more skilled now than saying making it very easy to get to, letting people house telepool. So we can try and reach a balance between, right, our players are really skilled compared to when we were all children like 10 years ago.
We have ideas on this boss. That's good.
Cool.
I'm really liking the sound of so far.
Yeah.
So will this?
Sorry, in terms of magic, I mean, we're going to aim for it to be having an interesting meta, I'm sure.
Cool.
And the mechanics sort of are lending themselves to doing something different. So
interesting.
Yeah, you just equip a T-bow and it breaks your T-bow, you know, that's it. Irreplaceable, done.
Not really a dual wield T-bow.
Twisted, it'll be like a twisted bow.
Yeah.
So next question, will this quest series and boss open up the possibility for us to go to the Ashihama Isles and the Eastern Lands? So this person actually wants us to keep with avoid the desert and go further eastwards instead.
So unlike the desert, that's not one where there's some secret design hidden away that we're working on. That one's not on the cards at the moment, but we chose the backstory of the Nightmare for a reason. We want to start like talking about those other areas a bit more. So that one's probably a long way off, but I guess it's a step closer with this. We certainly want to go there one day, I think.
They're already acknowledged in game, of course, with what's this guy called on the docks?
Yeah, you got the guy on the docks and the Warriors Guild. Defenders actually come from those.
Any treasure trail items as well.
So we'll be referring to their existence and just like, but yeah.
But yeah, as has been pointed out, we've got the desert to do first. There's a bit more of a Zaya we haven't uncovered yet, so that one's a bit further away.
Akaradu, that's the one.
Yeah, that's.
But yeah, it sums it up really.
Let's have some Group Iron Man questions. That was a bit about Mauritania, so let's try and let's cover the other reveals as well. Same first question as the last one. When will Group Iron Man be released?
I would bring it tomorrow if I could, is the honest answer. I've said to a couple of people at Runefest, we're still in a similar position. We have work that needs to be done before we can actually start doing anything as devs. It's just that we've obviously been told that the work will be done for us, obviously for next year. Mm-hmm. And when that is, Oh, better believe me. As soon as I get word from the engine team that's going ahead, I'll be poking Kieran. I'll be like, let's get team to do this. We're doing this now because it's something I really want to do.
Can't imagine we'll be sitting on it saying, "Oh, I can't be bothered anymore."
No,
It's gonna be both clans and Group Ironman are like a priority for next year, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Group Ironman sort of requires clans to be sort of in place first. We need the core work for clans before we can do Group Iron. So they sort of come hand in hand, but we are very keen to get it next year. It's a very difficult project. As we've alluded to already, we've talked about on this catch a bunch of times, right? It is hard. We still may run into some delays. We may run into hurdles that cause it to be later than we would hope. But that's why it's harder to give a time frame on such a project, because it's a challenge. It's not as simple as like Mauritania, where we sort of know exactly what we're doing. We've done it before. There's a lot of moving sort of.
So in terms of
with this.
in terms of time frame, let's say Mauritania first, clans after that, because the infrastructure required for Group Ironman is required for clans. The clans will come first, and then after clans will be Group Ironman.
Yeah. They'll come in that order.
Yeah, with no specific months attached, I'm afraid.
Yeah. But reasonably, as soon as possible, to be honest, is what we'll be aiming for. Whenever it comes out, believe us, we are making it as soon as we possibly can.
So lots of questions about the mechanics of Group Ironman. I'll see what we know so far. Firstly, a nice easy question, possibly. What colour symbol will there be for Group Ironman?
You could probably guess from the artwork that's sat behind us.
blue.
Blue. Okay, will Group Ironman players have a separate high scores table?
It will indeed. You mentioned it in your talk.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the thing.
Yeah.
So there'll be a high scores table for groups of every group size. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. From what I can remember from what we were talking is, the total levels will all be added together. So the maximum won't be 2277 anymore. It'll be 227 times the number of people in the group, right?
Quick math.
Oh, quick math. No. Not on stream. Then obviously the same for the actual skill levels themselves. So your crafting level for the group will be the combined crafting level. And then just obviously the experience will be used to determine that itself. You'll still have your own separate Group Ironman sort of page that will show the stats for that individual person, from what I understand. But that obviously isn't going on to the same as the Ironman table. There's been a lot of talk about, will people get a boost working with Group Ironman then go down to a regular Ironman? And the answer is no. You could probably go down to a main account again, but not to Ironman. We want to keep that as separate game modes entirely.
So we had a little mock-up of our high scores.
Yeah.
Could we share that on social after the stream? Is it in a position where we could do that, do you reckon?
It's a mock-up, so I don't see why we couldn't.
Yeah,
we were
feedback from players.
We were going to put it in the presentation, and then I think I got a lot of feedback originally when we were going over our rehearsals. There was a lot of information that would just be quite boring to present on stage, just that we can just say put on socials. Gambit there with the maths, 11,385 for a total level for 5 people.
I hope you got that wrong. That'd be really.
It's Gambit's that's wrong now. I called him out.
Again, the high scores currently is just a mock-up.
Yeah.
I mean, even that is a technical challenge. The high score system is ancient, and there are only a handful of people that I think know it quite well, at best. So again, this is challenging work, and the time frames we're talking about are not guarantees. We're just doing our best.
But we can share the mock-up, get some feedback from you to make sure when it is ready for release, it's what you want from it. Could Group Ironman players have a shared player in-house?
I think I just don't know.
Okay.
I'd love that to happen. It's one of the things I think I've said to Kieran all along was that would be amazing if we had that. Maybe it's the group leaders' houses, what everyone can choose to go to. I'm not sure, but it's an idea I think we won't know until we see what we get, right?
It's dependent on the clan system, because right now, a POH is stored on a player. That's a player save. If that player's not logged in, you cannot get access to that save. Hence why you can only go to a friend's house who's online on the same world. This would revolve around having to store that POH data on the clan itself instead.
Yeah.
We just don't know how much we're going to be able to put there or how easy it's going to be to access. So we can't rule it out, but it's not really in a place that we can get to it yet.
So
We don't know what we can get with the clan system and how much time we have for additional development on top of that next year. But just like a clan house or a Group Ironman house, a group bank or these sort of things, obviously a group bank would be absolutely incredible for Group Ironman. We all know that.
Yeah.
But it is a massive technical hurdle to try and pull something like that off. We genuinely don't know the answer if we can pull it off yet. But rest assured, we're going to try, and we'll have a look to see what we can do. But it might be the case that these features end up coming later, or if they do come at all.
And I did see the question there, will you be able to go into your group members' houses? I mean, presuming they're online, that's an easy yes, you'll be able to do that.
If that were the case, it would also possibly work a little bit awkwardly. Like, what if you all wanted to train construction at the same time? Would you have 5 kitchens and all build lads at the same time?
I mean, we could just make it so that you can only go into when building mode's on. There's only one person in the house. I think that happens anyway with regular houses.
I'm sure we could come up with something, but yeah, in a normal house you can only have one person in there because it's your bank.
Yeah.
People are asking about Chambers and Zerek's little group storage. That is a bit of a hack. It still stores it on a player, and if that player disappears, all the data gets moved to a different player. It needs them to be online. If you only have one person out of the group of 5 online, you're not going to be able to access it. What if all of them log off? We're going to have to store it somewhere.
It also doesn't store 4,000 items at the same time, which a group of 5 would, assuming that you all get 800 slots each. Which
we would probably give a group bank, you wouldn't be able to access each other's banks, so you'd have a private bank and a shared bank, and we'd probably end up keeping the shared bank quite small, is what I'd figure.
I quite like the idea of like maybe 100 or 200 items, that it's just a case of you can throw your items in there. Like maybe I caught a bunch of fish and I'm giving it to the person who's cooking, or herblore supplies, and that person you could be on different time zones, so maybe that person then picks them up, and it means you don't have to be online to trade. That would be nice. But as we said, we still want to look and see what we don't know.
Yeah, the other thing about a group bank is they have to work cross-world, and that is pushing anything we've done before.
Yeah.
So this is why this is not something we can just say, yes, we'll do it. Yes, we're going to see if we can do it. The answer might be no, and the answer might be that's a big project that'll come later.
I think it's important to acknowledge that we've announced a very general concept of something, and players will have the feature requests. So I think it's good that we're kind of engaging with these answers, even if it's something as simple as, we'll see, that sounds good, we'll see if we can do it, and we'll try and do it.
And as I've said, I've probably said quite negative, saying like these are difficult projects, we don't know exactly when they'll come. We all believe right now we'll be able to do this next year. But what we'll do is we'll do our best to keep in touch with you and let you know how it's progressing and where we're thinking it'll be at.
Like you said, it might even come to the point where we're like, actually, we want Group Iron Man to just be ready. The players want it. These are big projects that'll take later, and there's no harm in them being later additions if we just don't have the tech support to do them, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if you've got similar questions about people leaving groups.
Tons of questions that we're answering before me asking them anyway.
I saw somebody ask in the chat, like, what happens if you get kicked from a group or you leave a group? Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so essentially, if you were in a 3-man Group Iron Man and you leave or are kicked from the group, you will still be in a 3-man Group Iron Man, but with just yourself in it. You will then be able to recruit new, only fresh Group Iron Man accounts to your group. Obviously, the other people that are in the original group that you came from, they'll have a spot to fill. They do the same. We've seen a lot of things that we are glad that the community's bringing them up. There are things, some of them we thought of, some of them we haven't. And I've seen some that are like, this could become the meta for someone to make a fresh Group Iron Man account. There's another, say 4 people who are doing raids. They invite someone to the 5th one. They give them like Dragon Claws and a bunch of other stuff that are really hard to get on an Iron Man account, and then they can't get XP in PvP, so you end up with these really powerful PvP builds, and people could almost sell them, right? So there's things like this we actually have considered, and well, we don't have a solution for that right now. It could just be we make it so Group Iron Man get experience, right? In PvP combat, maybe they don't. Maybe we impose limits on how often you can join a group, or maybe if the group is no longer a fresh group, there's a timeline before you can actually get items from them. So there's things that we are aware of, and if you come up with these, feel free to tweet me, bring it on Reddit. We generally see these anyway, and I end up writing all these down as like, we need to consider this when it gets to it.
We should be able to come up with things on how quickly you can kick when they've freshly joined.
Yeah.
If your whole team's committed to letting someone join, then it seems reasonable that you can have a decent time frame before they're allowed to be kicked. But there's potential solutions, and at the end of the day, I think even if we did nothing, it's at least fair.
Yeah.
I think we're setting broadly what the rules are, and obviously you're in a Group Iron Man, you can absolutely expect that when you look at a Group Iron Man, yes, they could have shared that. That's how they work. But I'm confident we'll come up with good ideas.
And I've seen a lot of things come up, but what if this happens, and what if I get screwed over by the group? And it essentially comes down to try and play with people you know or people you trust. There are going to be group problems, and all we can kind of do is provide the tools to sort of people to help deal with it with the kicking system. That's why it's a vote to kick. Yeah, it just comes down to some people are probably going to have a bad experience, but we can't stop that, you know.
How does duo work? If one person kicks the other, how does that work?
Ooh.
We don't know.
Jimmy will be the leader, since they can call the kick and they decide the ties.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the case in a duo. You make sure you duo with someone you trust because they do potentially have the power to kick you. Yeah, we can talk about this when we get later on. Maybe there is no group leader in a duo. But then when you get to a 3,
What we know is we want to do group Iron Man. We've got the broad ideas down.
Yeah.
We ain't at the point where we're blogging it to you guys and really driving forward with your ideas, but we know we're doing it now. We absolutely welcome your suggestions on how we can best
Yeah,
do
so
this system.
keep flagging all these nuances about what if scenarios. Lots of people mentioning like the possibility for a black market around boosting accounts so then they could leave and then create their own group. The possibility of staying at like 10 HP so they don't get XP in PvP and dominating brackets with certain items because they're being fed items. Keep flagging those nuances. Like we said, we're aiming for next year's release, so plenty of time for us to work out mechanics around this kind of stuff and make sure integrity is it's just kind of it's all kept in check.
one more, sorry to interrupt you. One more thing I would like to say that we have seen, I don't have a solution yet, is that we are aware of the whole situation of you can have like maybe 2 people or 3 people in a group and they have 2 accounts that are botting, and what happens in that case, because the botters can get supplies, give them to the other 3 people. Does the group get banned? Do the botters get banned? Because only the botters get banned. I don't have a solution right now. It is essentially, it could just be on a case-by-case basis. We maybe look at see the transfer of wealth amongst the group, how that's being used, but we don't know that right now. But I'd like to just say we've seen that as a potential thing, and we are aware of it. I'd just like to say that. And no to the untradables being shared thing that someone else asked.
Cool. All right, so that's a bit about Group Iron Man. I think the general overview of that is you've identified lots of different niche nuances and stuff that we need to consider, and we'll work with you on making sure we arrive at the right outcome. A few clans questions as well, because that was one of the other reveals. So we mentioned the idea of a shared bank and stuff, but would we get a shared clan-only area similar to Citadels from RuneScape?
Citadels.
I would prefer to avoid the likes of Citadels and stuff. I'm not averse to some sort of social area.
Yeah.
That could just be
a shared area for a clan only makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Citadels, I don't think we should do that.
Yeah, it's more like we can make an area that you can enter that's instanced and only your clan can enter it. Sort of like a clan house, without going to making it a big custom place.
Maybe some cool data, like notice boards and stuff about your clan, some statistics, your event notice board, that's where you edit your recruitment board, that kind of stuff.
That stuff just sounds cool, right?
Yeah.
We should probably do stuff with that.
There's no desire really, unless the community really did get behind it, to do something like Citadels. They were also a mammoth project Renault had done in the past, humongous, and so a very expensive thing for something that I don't think provided a lot of benefit in the end.
I also know it was a bit of a turn off for some people, especially because you'd have to level up your Citadel, and to stay in a clan, they would expect you to level up your Citadel. And if you didn't like that content, it was sort of like, well, I want to join a clan, but I don't want to do this for like an hour a week. So
sweet, yeah. So on the clan stuff, similar to Group Iron Man, lots of different features and stuff to consider. If you hit ! reveals, then that will give you a link to the keynote, so you can watch us talk on stage for a little bit. Also the blog, which is probably more entertaining and more relevant to you. The clan section of that allows clan leaders to apply for a chance to visit Jagex HQ, so we can work with you on making sure the feature set we offer for clans is what you want. And then there's also the normal feedback routes for you to follow, where we can consider all the different nuances around Group Iron Man and that kind of stuff. A few other questions related to RuneFest. So Ash briefly mentioned PVM achievement diaries whilst on stage at RuneFest. Can we get a little bit more info about how these work?
Sure, I can go into that. It was something I originally thought of as when you first start bossing, there's no real inclination as to where you start. Most people, I've seen it come up in streamers chats, I'm 80 combat stats, where do I go? And the idea that we could actually segment the bosses into different tiers, from like easy maybe up to master, and just have like a number of kills for that boss for that tier. And on top of that, maybe unique challenges and ways to kill them. Now, a lot of the lower level bosses like Mold, there's probably not many challenging ways to try and kill them all, right? But I like the idea of being like, maybe at the medium tier, there's the beating the fight caves, but then at the hard tier, there's beat the fight caves with melee only, or stuff like that. Like, this is conceptual stuff. I don't know if that's what will be there, or beat the fight caves in a set amount of time, or maybe master tier is beat 5 Zucks, and one of the challenges is beat it in less than an hour 10.
Yeah.
Right? So there's things like this. Like, this is the concept of core of it. Like, Vorkath could just be beat it. There's one task to beat it on a time, another one to beat it without taking damage from like anything except his basic attacks. Yeah, that's the concept of it. None of these tasks are set in stone. It comes down to a lot of other things like how much time do we have on the project, what ideas can we actually do. Things get really difficult, as I've been told, with like, okay, you make it so it's melee only in the fight caves, but how do we actually track that? We maybe have to look at things like this and make sure that you can't cheat through them.
Yeah, for some it'd be quite easy, but for some, like, especially like things like the wilderness bosses where they're out in the open and anyone can come along, how do you make sure that it's only that player that's contributed?
Yeah.
So there's still like some discussions to be had over how it would work.
Hey,
But I love this concept. I think there's a lot you can do with this.
yeah.
I mean, it adds more depth to bosses people have already played in terms of lower level bosses. It can even give you advice on how to do it better
Yeah.
because the tasks can point you a little bit in the right direction of how to effectively do it. Like, it might be a case where you go and do bandos and it indicates you can fight it without receiving any range damage. It might be obvious to everyone to play range, but maybe that's a bad example, but you get what I mean. It can point you in the right direction of, oh yeah, I can do that somehow? How can I do that?
Actually,
And then on the higher level bosses, and you can push the challenges really hard. Like, you can add more depth to Vorkath, you can add more depth to Theatre of Blood by doing it without this happening or doing it with limited gear. I think there's a ton you can do with it, and times as well. You can offer time challenges.
one of my favorite pitches was the idea of like a task to do Zilliana by taking no damage. We could even make it like kill her 5 times without taking any damage, right? So that's a really complex PVM thing. Some people have done it and mastered it. That's really straightforward for them, right? But the idea that someone has to go and learn to watch the cycles while kiting, maintaining stamina, all that stuff sounds really cool to do. Yeah, that's the idea. And I'm sure like whenever we get to development of that, we're gonna go to the community and be like, give us some cool ideas for these, right? Yeah. You know?
We're taking a lot of inspiration from what clans are doing with their kind of bingo anyway, so we'll be working with you and continue to work with you. Right, we're coming to the end of the stream. This one will overrun a little bit, I'm sure the players will be happy with. I've got 2 leagues questions, whoever wants to answer it. For Twisted League, will you implement the drop system of regular accounts for it? As in, person who does the most damage gets the drop. I feel like crashing would be a huge issue if not.
No. And I can explain why.
Okay.
So people think that crashing is going to be really big. Now, as someone who plays as an Iron Man, it doesn't really happen with other Iron Man, right? There's no benefit to crashing. Also, AoE spells aren't a thing. So people imagine crashing at Dust Devils and things like that. No, you can't AoE Dust Devils apart from Grey Chinchompas, which not everyone's going to go and hunt enough to do that. So there's this whole point of like, you know, most people will probably just be single target killing them. It'll probably happen to streamers because people will do that, right? And at that point they're on like video evidence and stuff, and it still report people who do it. But I just feel like there's not that as much incentive to go up to a random person, attack the same Dust Devil they're killing in single target to deny their drop. And even if you do, the person still gets half Slayer XP, and you could probably just hop worlds and avoid the trolls.
We're going to put up plenty of worlds to try and meet demand, but even then, like, mid-season, we can look to address it if it does become a problem as well.
And someone said that everything will be camped. Yeah, that's kind of the meta, right? If the whole point of doing the tasks and completing things is considering how packed that activity is going to be, in my opinion, right? If you find the things that are very niche that give a lot of points that nobody else is doing, like that's part of the strategy, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
There's also not much of a concern about bosses because the only bosses which you can kill outside of an instance are legitimate shamans. They're not really bosses anyway.
And Sarachnis.
So Sarachnis as well.
The one thing as well is, not many people actually know this, but Sarachnis will reset after 30 seconds of being in the room. So I saw people go, oh, what if someone half damages it? No. And then Lizardman Shamans as well, you don't have a cannon, so there's not the big issue of someone's cannon was going and tagging all yours.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the issue isn't as big as people think it is.
Okay. I thought I had 2 league questions, but it was the same question pasted twice, so I don't. So that's it for leagues. Other than It's coming out on 14th of November, and so we put up a blog live last week, which is kind of like a bit more insight into the mechanics of it, potential rewards. That poll will be live following more feedback, probably looking like next week onwards, that kind of time. We're in no rush for it. Also, some people were talking about how difficult the tasks seem. So the 5 we showed, that's of the hundreds that there are. So I know some people are saying RNG, etc. Well, there are hundreds of tasks to complete. We don't expect you to go and do this, this, and this, and this.
I think it's misleading from the fact every task system you've ever seen in Old School so far, you complete them all. That's the aim. At least I would be very surprised if somebody completed all the tasks in leagues.
Yeah.
So it's more like this is a very, very long list of all the different things you can do, and we give you points for most of the things you do. So rather than you're going to tick this off and tick this off, it means if you do get like one of those things that's rare, absolutely you're going to get some points for it.
Yeah, and it would feel wrong to not award points for that. So like the fact that someone get a Dragon Warhammer, oh, did I get no? Because we don't want any RNG tax. Our game is full of RNG. It's going to happen. And I'd like to actually, there was one comment on Reddit that was saying, maxing is stupid, it's impossible, why is that a task? First of all, it's very possible. We know the relics, the full 5 tiers of relics. Deadman mode kind of jumped the 10 to 15 times at the start and gave you nothing else. This starts out at 3, and even then we're questioning whether we go to like 4 or 5. We've still got internal balancing, right? And then you get that scale up. And like someone said, can I max if I only play 1 to 2 hours a day? No. No, you honestly can't, and that's fine. You are probably not the person who's going to go for that task. There will be other tasks that you will do. This is, like as Kieran said, it's not seen as a list of tasks for you to complete. It's a endless bucket of tasks where I'm sure almost every task will be completed by one person, but no person will complete all the tasks. So you go to the point where you're like, hey, I really like Slayer, I really like PVM, there's probably a bunch of tasks for you. You don't, and you like scaling, there's a bunch of tasks for you, right? And then maybe you complete one whole section of it and you'll move on to other stuff, and that's kind of the idea. Pick the things you want to do, you'll get points for it, and there'll be people who will naturally go, what's the most points per hour, what's the most efficient way to play? It happens, but you've got 2 months, so crunch those numbers quickly.
And if you're concerned about what's the point of playing if you aren't going to be the person who completes all the tasks, well, rewards scale according from like the bronze to dragon dramatically. So you'll come away with something. Right, I am going to wrap this up. At the start of the stream, we introduced some new members of the team. So I'd go back and watch the VOD if you're at this point and you missed the start of the stream. ! New mod to be able to follow mod Oasis. We spoke a bit about third-party clients and what we're going to be not doing with that, that's probably a bit misleading, what we're working on currently. So we kind of see 2 different issues. One is what we do with existing third-party clients, and one what we do with our official client. Existing third-party clients, we recognize that the statement we gave you last week, wasn't good enough, you need more clarity, so we're working on doing that, fixing that up with player base, and also engaging with client developers. In terms of our official client, we're exploring some like pretty exciting options. I can't talk about them just in a moment, but I think some of the outcomes are really favourable from the player base. Account security, so the last update you had was that the team working on delivering the features identified what they were going to do and what features they'd be bringing, but they needed to work out when they can deliver that. They've now done that, so they know what they can deliver and when, but they need to get the blog together. So they're working on that currently. We'll share that with you when we have it. PvP, so we didn't give a PvP Brewfest reveal, that's right. But here's what's kind of happening with PvP. So we've got the Bounty Hunter rework coming in the coming weeks, hopefully next Thursday. We've obviously got the new head of esports, Mod Rogue, and we're really keen on introducing you to her so that she can share some of her plans. We've got the polling charter to clearly communicate what we do and don't poll, but we haven't made a decision on what we're going to poll or not poll yet. We mentioned the idea of a council, so we've been engaging with kind of knowledge sharing events with our friends in the industry. So today we spoke to CCP, who make EVE Online, and they run like a council system, like democratically elected. And then we're also looking at what we can do with the clan system and how that links to PvP, but we see it kind of intrinsically linked to genuine PvP activity. So we're not neglecting it. We didn't have a big Roomfest announcement. I'm sorry for that, but we're trying to cover all bases here. How the content is introduced, how it's designed, and who we're working with, basically. Long bit of monologue there, but that's it from me. I kind of covered Third-party clients, account security, and PvP. We had RuneFest recently. Thank you very much for your support during it. Exclamation mark reveals for a summary of what we announced. Exclamation mark new mod to follow Mod Oasis. And thank you very much, everyone on the couch, for joining me.
Can I call out all the people in chat? Controversial here, because I don't mind the hate. If you are saying fix PvP, that is not feedback. Please give us actual meaningful things you want us to do, and we will consider. It's absolutely enraging to see fix it. We're releasing stuff for it.
My hot take is that they've been giving us some good feedback for like the last 6 years or so, but we haven't really given them the time to do it. So I completely agree with you. We still need to engage. We need good engaging feedback, but I think there needs to be more effort from our part to make it a part of our release cadence.
Oh, I agree. Those comments are not meaningful.
Sure.
So
it's all born through we talk about it a lot. It's all born through passion. They're not. I think everyone's spamming fixed PvP and stuff. They're not doing it to piss us off. It's to kind of, I don't know, they've reached the end of their tether.
Yeah. Yeah.
And while on topic, because the last comment, I'm currently working on Bounty Hunter 2, so that'll be coming soon, if it helps.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. That's something that's put us on like a quite negative note. Then we're really happy. No. RuneFest was amazing. I don't know. I came back to the office and I had such renewed passion to work on the game again. Like having spent the weekend with people who love the game, even online as well. Like everyone was engaging with it. You were giving us feedback. Some of it positive, some of it negative on how the stream was going. That's great. Like all feedback is good feedback as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
So
I think we're talking about showing off the Bounty Hunter stuff on the Q&A in the near future before it comes out in beta. So
which makes sense. If the beta release is next Thursday, then perhaps we can set aside a good segment of next Wednesday stream. I don't know how John will feel about extending the stream a bit before, a bit after. Before, cool. So yeah, so we'll look at doing that for you. That's it from me. Anybody else have anything to say? A big thank you to Mod Gambit for the chat and everybody else for joining me on the couch. We'll see you next week.
au revoir.
Bye-bye.